Breaking news, Charlotte on edge. After a night of protest, community activists now calling for an economic boycott.
Since black lives do not matter for this city, then our black dollar shouldn't matter.
City leaders calling for calm.
I'm asking all of our Charlotte community to stand together to help us, give us the time to get the right information, and then to continue dialogue going forward at how we continue to be a peaceful community where opportunity is open to everyone.
A peaceful protest going on right now in Uptown.
Let's go to anchor Bill Malugin live with more from Trade and Tryon. Bill?
Hey guys, right now we are live at the intersection of Trade and Tryon in Uptown Charlotte, where we're witnessing a very peaceful protest behind us. Let me go ahead and step out of the way and show you what we're looking at. A group of probably about 50 to 75 folks out here. They're just chanting right now, hands up, don't shoot. All, of course, in response to the deadly CMPD shooting that happened yesterday of Keith Scott. This is a much different picture compared to what we saw last night in terms of the protests. You'll remember those protests started off in the university area of Charlotte, right near where the shooting happened at the Village apartment complex, and they eventually graduated into riots. Protesters got on the interstate, they started looting trucks. This is a much different story. The folks out here, up until a little while ago, were very quiet. They were just holding up signs. You can see legalize being black, and then they just started doing different chants. Hands up, don't shoot. Chanting different things. Let me go ahead and just be a little quiet right now so you can kind of get a vibe of what's going on here. And they've been chanting this for several minutes now. If you're curious about whether or not there's a police presence here, there are some CMPD officers across the street. They're just sitting on a bench relaxing. Now, it looks like we have some activity here. The crowd is starting to chant walk. So it looks like the crowd is starting to walk. Where they're going, we don't know yet, but let's go ahead and follow them. Let me grab the jacket here. And okay, so it looks like we are walking up Trade Street towards the epicenter right now. That's where we're going right now. The crowd has stopped chanting, but as you can see, they are now on the move, so we're going to go ahead and follow them. Again, probably a group of about 50 to 75 folks out here. And again, I want to stress, this protest has been the complete opposite of what we've seen last night. Right now, they're just chanting no justice, no peace, hands, fists up in the air. But again, last night, very different story. Last night's protest started similar to this, and then it got later into the night and things kind of spiraled out of control. But again, let me go ahead and step out of the way right here so you guys get a look at where we're walking and what's going on. All right, so as you can see, we are walking towards the epicenter right now with these protesters. Earlier today, CMPD Police Chief Kerr Putney held a press conference where he announced that the body cam footage is not going to be released. He said the officer who shot and killed Keith Scott was not wearing a body camera because he was an undercover officer. But other officers were, in fact, wearing body cameras. But because of a new state law, that footage will not be released. A lot of folks aren't happy about that. But Chief Putney did reinforce. He says that Keith Scott did, in fact, have a gun. But Keith Scott's family says otherwise. His family says all he was holding was a book, that he was completely unarmed, and that he was just waiting for his kids to get off of the bus. As you can see, we are now crossing the street to, we're at the intersection of College and Trade Street now, right by the epicenter. People starting to go into the roads a little bit here, chanting no justice, no peace. And if you guys are saying anything, I apologize. I cannot hear you, but we'll just keep talking and showing you guys what's going on here as long as we can. No peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice. Ed, I don't know if you can pan up, but there is a police helicopter up in the sky keeping an eye on things, just like last night. It might be a little difficult to see, but it's been circling uptown, keeping an eye on things. And as I mentioned before, There were some CMPD officers out here, but they were just sitting across the street from this protest, very relaxed. They didn't seem concerned whatsoever, and they shouldn't be. This has been very, very, very peaceful, zero issues whatsoever. And it's also important to point out, when these folks came out here earlier, they started gathering around 4:30 this evening. One of them came out and spoke and said, look, we are not thugs, we are not criminals. We are coming out here in daylight. We are doctors, we are bankers, we are lawyers, we are successful citizens, and we do not want any special treatment. We just want to be treated like everybody else. That is all that they're asking for. So let me go ahead and let's go ahead and show how many people are walking with this crowd behind us real quick. So you can see several people still following behind right now. All right, so now we're starting to approach the bus station in Uptown. Let's see here. A couple blocks away from Time Warner Cable Arena, or the Spectrum Center.
All right, you're watching Bill Melugin walk there live with the protesters in Uptown right now. And we know that this is a peaceful protest, which is something that the city leaders have been calling for all day, part of the democratic process after what happened yesterday and the deadly shooting in the university area.
And ahead of this protest and other protests that are expected tonight, a lot of businesses closed early in Uptown. In the center city, a lot of things were shutting down in advance. The city's new citizen naturalization ceremony also canceled. Let's go ahead and listen to Bill.
Last night was, I can understand they were enraged. Everybody's afraid now. And the type of crowd that you had last night were young people that are afraid. These are guys that's acting out in the way they feel. And they're angry. And something's got to happen for these people to understand that they are affected by this. Mm-hmm. And the young man that actually started it, I call him a hero because nobody would have never known this was going on. Mm-hmm. But again, the violence behind it, I didn't like it because I had another person that I know very, very closely. Her father's truck was vandalism over that, and he's a black man. Uh-huh. So it affected everybody. So it's not only affecting, the community, but everybody was affected by it. So I hope that this protest will show them, and they'll see this as a solidarity piece as we do now, is everything is in peacefulness. The way we protest. You don't have to do some of the stuff that they did last night.
Are you worried that as the sun goes down, some bad characters might come out and it might kind of turn into what we saw last night?
Very wary, because now they're showing, that they're not afraid. And something has to happen.
And how do you stop that from happening? How does your message get out to the folks who want to do bad things? How do you stop that?
Well, it takes the top leaders to come out of their corner and say what they're going to do about it. Because they're not talking, they're not saying anything, and they're going and covering up. But we cannot cover up this anymore. We've covered up enough. We're here, and people are afraid. Black Americans are being killed every second, every hour, and something has to happen. So our people, our big leaders, need to come out and support what they're going to do about it. Let's stop talking about it. Let's do something. Let's do some action behind it.
And last question before we let you catch up with the crowd here. What are your thoughts on the very opposite stories we're hearing from police and the family with this case?
Well, to me, it's a cover-up. Now, I wasn't there, but again, how do you tell me a man is waiting for his child? Every day he does this, and he's in a car sitting with a gun? Really? For real? On the bus stop? I don't understand. Watch out, baby. I don't understand that. It's just a cover-up.
Are you willing to wait until the investigation plays out to make a final decision?
Oh, yes. I'm going to wait. We're going to all have to wait. Yeah. Okay. But it's just crazy. It's amazing how a man in Oklahoma, Tulsa, gets killed for just his car being broke down. And now we get another one that a guy sitting at the bus stop waiting to pick up his son. And his son had the witnesses. So all evidence will come out. Okay. Eventually, all the truth will be told.
Well, thank you so much for your time, man. Appreciate it. Well, all right, guys, as you can see, this march still continuing. We are now at the intersection of, let me look under this tree right here, Caldwell and Schrade Street. So we are now past the Spectrum Center. We are now past Epicenter. Let's see here. We're kind of walking through the middle of the street right here. Hey, Ed, get a shot of the skyline real quick just to show our position real quick. So as you can see, Epicenter's back over there. We're walking away. We're walking away from the Uptown area right now. It looks like we're actually walking towards CMPD headquarters. That's just up ahead to our left. So it'll be interesting to see if that's where we end up. So far, I've only seen one CMPD unit just to our left. They're just looking over, keeping an eye on things. Again, the crowd's still chanting Black Lives Matter. We're going to move up ahead a little bit here, see if we can find out exactly where we're going here. Well, my best guess would be the CMPD police headquarters, which is right over here up to our left. The chanting starting to die down a little bit here. Again, group of probably about 50 to 75 folks with us right now.
Hey, Bill, if you can hear me, it's Brian. Have you talked to any protesters, and what are they saying about how aggressive and violent some of the other protesters got last night? What are their thoughts on those protesters?
Brian, if you asked a question, I couldn't hear it. I thought I heard something about protesters. I apologize, I can't hear, but I'll just repeat. So far, the police are letting these guys do whatever they want. There haven't been any issues, no violence, no physical contact of any kind, just some street crossings, some chanting. Nothing to be concerned about so far, but again, the big question is going to be what happens when the sun goes down? Are we going to see things kind of deteriorate into what we saw last night, or will this stay peaceful? The large majority of the crowd here hoping peaceful. All right, it looks like we are at CMPD headquarters now. That is where we have walked to. As you can see, they're stopping right in front of the headquarters right now.
All right, Bill Melugin live right there with the protesters in Uptown. They marched all the way over to CMPD headquarters, a peaceful protest that we're going to keep covering and have you for live for throughout the rest of the show. And we'll have much more on this coming up right after the break.
Okay, so we are now... Hey guys, yeah, we are live with this group of protesters which have walked through Uptown Charlotte, and as you can see, they have made their way right here to CMPD headquarters where they continue to protest the shooting death of Keith Scott. As you can hear, once again, they are now chanting, no justice, no peace. Some of them saying, this isn't where it starts, this is where it ends. They're going to hold police accountable, and that's the message they say they want put out as they stand right on the front doorstep of CMPD headquarters. Take a listen.
No peace! No justice! 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 No peace!
And again, we follow this group of protesters from the intersection of Trade and Tryon, where they started having a very peaceful protest at 4:30 this evening. All they were doing was chanting, holding up signs, have to stress, no violence, nothing like what we saw last night. They made their way a few blocks out of Uptown down here to CMPD headquarters. And as you can see, that's where they decided to post up for the time being, speaking out against CMPD. Take a listen.
We got people coming from everywhere, and we coming, and they're gonna come, and we're gonna stay here. Be on your right. Being black is not a crime. 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 Being black.
And again, if you're just joining us, this all having to do with the deadly CMPD shooting that happened yesterday. In a nutshell, Keith Scott's family says he was unarmed, was only holding a book, and was sitting in a car when he was shot and killed by CMPD. CMPD has a much different story. They say Mr. Scott had a handgun and that they recovered it at the scene. So two very different stories sparked off a lot of passion and frustration, the result of which we saw last night and tonight. You'll remember last night the situation, quite frankly, just completely spun out of control. CMPD officers were injured, cruisers were destroyed, rocks were thrown, bottles were thrown, people got on the interstate, they blocked lanes, they looted trucks, they set fires. Tonight, at least so far, very different story, just chanting and a very peaceful protest, which is what a lot of folks want to see out here. Again, a group of about 50 to 75 protesters, and some people posted up across the street taking a look at what's going on. I do not see any CMPD officers right now. I'm looking around in all directions, do not see any. So it would appear that officers right now are going to let these folks have their protest and get their emotions out, as you can hear.
We will not be defeated.
They're chanting, we can never be defeated. Being black is not a crime. And again, this whole protest started as a group of professionals in the Uptown area, a bunch of people who work out here. They started sending around a memo saying, hey, everybody get together in your business attire at the corner of Trade and Tryon at 4:30 p.m., dress nicely, be at work. And again, they stressed when they spoke to us earlier, we're not thugs, we're not criminals, we're bankers, we're lawyers, we're attorneys, and we do not want special treatment. We just want to be treated equally as everybody else. Now, guys, if I'm stepping away about 10 feet or so, if you guys got a question, I might be able to hear you real quick.
Bill, it's Brian. Yeah, I can see that you've been following the protests here that started earlier, about an hour ago, over at CMPD. You see the church leaders that are there with them right now. They're calling for peaceful protests tonight. Yeah, we do. The man right in front of the crowd right now, he's with the local church. He was the one who started rallying up the crowd when they were doing their chants earlier. When they were saying being black is not a crime, he kept saying, say it louder, say it louder. As you can see, he's right there in the front and going along with them right now.
Bill, any indication how long they plan on
turning towards the doors of CMPD now in the back of the crowd? No officers have come out. We don't see any officers anywhere.
Bill, any indication how long they plan on protesting on the streets of Charlotte tonight?
Kayla, I believe I heard you ask how long they plan to be out here. I think it's kind of open-ended. I know this started at 4:30. We haven't heard any set time of when this is supposed to end. We do know there's another protest or a vigil being held at Marshall Park at 7 p.m., which we have heard some of the protesters talk about wanting to go to. So it'll be interesting to see if this one kind of ends up merging into that 7 o'clock one. As it stands for this group right now, I think it's just open-ended. They're just going to walk until they get their message out. And nobody's told us that there's a set time. Again, the big question here, it's going to be dark pretty soon. Are things going to stay stable like this, or, are they going to spiral out of control like last night? Again, there's a lot of people driving by in cars right now shouting, in support of these protesters here. Again, I'm not seeing any police anywhere. Again, chanting no justice, no peace. And it's actually a pretty powerful image when you take a step back. Everybody's standing in front with their fists up right in front of CMPD headquarters here, right on their front doorstep.
CMPD Chief Kurt Putney was speaking, and he was saying that it's going to be a much different scene tonight, Bill. It's going to be a much different scene tonight as far as protesters, how CMPD's response is. Last night, as they dealt with the protests, as they became progressively more violent over the night, they tried to retreat. We're going to have to wait and see what CMPD's response is and how they handle that tonight, because we do know that they are going to come out with more of a show of force right now that they're not in front of headquarters. And we know that many many protests and vigils are planned tonight. We were talking about one over at Hal Marshall Park. That is the Million Youth March protest. There's also prayer services that are planned. That's going to be at the church near the shooting scene in the university area, where the man was shot yesterday.
All right, Bill, can you hear us right now? All right, again, a lot of businesses let out early in Uptown in advance of the protests that were expected.
Yeah, and civil rights activists called today the True Healing Under God, the Thug. They were called for the economic boycott of Charlotte. So a lot of businesses were concerned about not only the protests getting violent out of hand, but also concerned about that situation as well. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be covering this as much as we can for you. Stay on this developing story here happening in Uptown. We'll be right back.
Breaking news, protests in the wake of the shooting death of Keith Lamont. Scott, you're taking another live look at a peaceful protest that is moving through the streets of Uptown.
Bill Melugin walking with those protesters here for the better part of an hour right now. Bill, where are they heading now?
No justice, no peace.
All right, guys, if you can hear me, we have moved to the other side of CMPD headquarters right now as we continue to follow these protesters. We are now at the back entrance of CMPD headquarters. As you can see, now there is a group of CMPD officers blocking the front entrance. Ed, if you can get a look at that. These CMPD officers here are blocking the front entrance of CMPD headquarters with their bikes as these protesters continue to move into the parking lot here. Take a listen.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Again, very peaceful. Cops aren't saying anything, just creating a wall with their bikes right here. Some of the protesters are just walking past them, as you can see, not really even acknowledging the CMPD officers here. But it does appear CMPD is determined to block the entrance to their headquarters here. Again, some people are going up and speaking with CMPD. Hard to tell what they're saying, but CMPD is not responding to them. Let's get up a little closer and take a look. Let's take a listen to what he's saying. Okay, just kind of a stare down a little bit, but as you can see, police aren't saying anything, just standing here blocking this back entrance, making sure nobody's able to get through. And again, I do want to point out, most of the protesters have walked away from us. And again, this is a very similar scene to what we were seeing last night in terms of protesters standing right in front of CMPD officers, getting up in their faces like this, and CMPD just not responding to them. Again, they've created a wall with their bikes here to block them from getting into the CMPD headquarters here. But as you can see, CMPD not responding to any of these chants that they're getting here. As you can hear, some of the protesters are saying, all we want is a chance. Take a listen.
Always what you think we are. That's it. And that's all we want. How you doing, Captain?
Look at that, a handshake right there with Captain Mike Campagna.
The community that respects y'all and respects us. And we want to be.
All right, take a look at this.
We show that we are appreciated and we want to be valued. You know that? So we need y'all to see the community. We need y'all to understand our faces. So when you see us, we ain't strangers. We're not the people that you're scared of. We're not animals. We're not crooks. Most of us are in college, intelligent, and making it in life. Fathers, sons, daughters. Most of us can do it.
Can I say something?
Yeah. It's an open forum,
And
Captain.
what you're saying, we feel the same way.
Of course.
We want you to see us as people too.
That's true.
That we are people. That
That's
these
right.
uniforms, this is just clothes. That's all this is.
That's all it is.
Barricade off like animals, though.
Well, let Captain finish. Let him
I
finish.
just want
Let
you
him
to understand
finish.
that we see, and I respect that. I do. But we're saying that we need that. We need that back and forth, right? So we see you as people, and you see us as people. I agree with that 100%.
100%.
100%.
And this is what we're gonna need to do right now, community, so we can get everybody on the same page. So we don't have to do this. It's 2016. There's no reason in the world we have to tell you Black Lives Matter. We shouldn't have to tell you it's no justice and no peace no more. But we still have to do this. So you're gonna catch us on your stoop now. This is where we're gonna be. So you understand, we're not playing. We ain't what you think we are. And we gonna make you see what we are. And we ain't last night. So we gonna show you today. And hopefully, after this, we can join hands and work together. Hopefully, this can happen. And hopefully, no more deaths can happen from an unarmed man, from a cop. No more deaths can happen from black on black crime. No more deaths can happen from white on black crime.
If you're afraid, take the
no
badge
more.
off. If you're afraid, take the badge off, because just take it off, bro. We tired of dying.
You know what I
We
think,
tired of
Captain?
dying.
We need community policing.
Take the badge off.
We
If
need
you're
some
afraid,
better training.
But you're right here with
But
the
we need a
glasses.
good
Take it off.
outreach.
You're afraid.
We need to be able to
We
do
can see
this
in
more
your
often.
eyes. We can see
We
in
need to
your
be
eyes.
able to do this more often.
We can see your eyes. You put
Yes,
take
it
that
is.
badge off.
I can't wait to have it
Yeah.
with you.
Let's do it.
Can't
Buddy,
wait to
back
have it with
here?
you. You know I'll be back.
Tell
down.
buddy,
It's a
take the
pleasure.
badge off.
All right.
We see in your eyes.
Thank you,
We see
Captain.
in your eyes.
Y'all give it up for
We
Captain.
see in your
Appreciate it.
eyes.
Thank you.
All right, so you saw there a pretty incredible moment right there between the protesters and police, something we'd like to see a lot more of, just establishing a dialogue right here in front of CMPD headquarters. That was great to see. You could see just a handshake. They were each speaking their pieces on each side of the issues, both sides saying they're humans. Look, the cops are saying, look, we're human. The badge doesn't change that. Very impressive moment we just saw here. Our live coverage will continue right after this.
All right, we continue to track breaking news happening in Uptown of the peaceful but passionate protests that have been going on in Uptown right now at CMPD.
And just a moment ago, you saw a very powerful moment on live TV. Bill Melugin joined live now outside of CMPD with that protester. Bill?
No peace.
Well, Kayla, we just witnessed a pretty amazing moment here in front of CMPD headquarters. I'm here with Greg Jackson right now. He's out here protesting. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. And you just had a pretty incredible moment with CMPD Captain Mike Campagna. Talk about the conversation you guys just had and why it's so important.
Well, we just opened up the forum where I can give my opinion and basically the black community's opinion out here in Charlotte. And then he basically gave the police department's opinion. And that's what we need to do right now is have an open forum to where everybody can talk and, have a positive and peaceful conversation. And it was real enlightening. Like, we don't know what they're going through. They don't know what we're going through. So everybody has to be on the same page so we can kind of come to one common ground, be unified.
Right, and so far the protest tonight, much different story from what we saw last night. Everything out here has been great, very peaceful, very respectful. Do you think it's going to stay that way the rest of the night? Is that your hope?
Yeah, I mean, most of the initial reaction stuff is just anger, and it's a lot of times when you're emotional and your anger, it takes over you and you don't know really what to do with it. And this is like a long time of anger. Mm-hmm. It's not just somebody got shot yesterday and then we're mad because of yesterday. Mm-hmm. We're mad because of what's been going on continuously. Mm-hmm. And then for the year 2016, it's been nonstop, just month after month after month, quarter after quarter. So that's where last night came from. It doesn't represent all of Charlotte, but it's definitely a true emotion.
Did that moment you just had with the CMPD captain there open your eyes, make you feel any differently?
Yeah, I've had a meeting with Captain Garnes before also, along with contacting Major Cunningham. I'm personally right now trying to orchestrate my own police meet and greet, waiting for a nice venue to open up and open their doors up for us so we can do that. But I've had plenty of conversations. The thing about the police are, man, they're all not bad. You know what I'm saying? It's just we need community policing. We need people in the community that know people in the community, and we need better training. Officers just need to know what to do when times of distress come, and not everybody's going to be a victim, And
I want to get your opinion. One last question here. Do you think this was... the Charlotte area doesn't have a whole lot of these controversial shootings like this. We had the Carrick trial last summer, but what was your opinion of CMPD before this happened? Has it changed it? And did you feel like this community was kind of a powder keg waiting for something like this to really set it off compared to what we've seen across the country?
I feel like every community is like that right now. Every community is just waiting. They're kind of waiting their turn for something to happen. And, every other city needs to learn from Charlotte and try to get with their police department and try to make an outreach so they can stop this before it happens. Because everybody, not only the people that's in the community, the police are waiting too. They're waiting for something to go and have, like, everybody's on their heels. So nobody's comfortable. So nobody's acting with their true emotion, So, like, when that gets figured out, like, I know Charlotte's a good city, and I know that I haven't had no real trouble in Charlotte with that, but there's cancer everywhere, and it just needs to be fixed some type of way. It's enough good cops out here to fix it.
And final question I want to ask you is, do you think sometimes people rush a little too quickly to judgment on both sides of the aisle, whether it's waiting for a police investigation or quickly judging based off a mugshot that's shown or something like that? What's your opinion?
Well, it's hard to say that some people jump, because when somebody dies, you can't tell somebody they jumped too far. When somebody dies, it's just, you got to go with your gut on that one. And then with the police, the initial reaction shouldn't be he's a criminal. This guy died with a book. He had a book in his hand. So I don't want to say it's jumping. The investigations need to go on and all that. But when you have so much anger and years of anger, you don't got time to wait. Tupac said it before. He said, man, we used to knock on the door and say, hey, let us in. And then it's the knocks after a couple of years turn into bangs. Just let us in. And after that, we kicking down the door like, let us in right now. So that's what's happening right now. The black community is just upset, and we're like, no more. We're valued. We're Americans. We have rights. Give them to us.
Anything else you'd like to say, Rad?
I appreciate you for covering and being out there.
We appreciate you for talking with us. Great insight, man. Appreciate it.
Man.
Have a good night, all right?
We thank you. We saw you cover this thing out loud. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
So, again, guys, some really good discourse going on here in front of CMPD headquarters. It's continuing right now, as you can see. More protesters talking with CMPD Captain Mike Compagna here. And he was actually heavily involved in the Carrick trial. So as you can see, this is what people want to see. This is what people are really hoping to see, is conversations, calm conversations between these protesters and police about issues that are, really hotly contested on both sides of the aisle. So let's just take a watch and look here. Okay, and we're going to be out here live continuing to follow these these conversations and these live events. A large group of the protesters have walked away, but we'll be out here keeping an eye on everything. For now, we're going to send it back to Brian and Kayla in the studio. Live in Uptown Charlotte tonight, Bill Malugin, Fox 46 Charlotte.
Bill, thank you. Very powerful moments right there with a protester who is very intelligent and very rational.
Yeah, some very good insight. All right, now there is another gathering that's expected to happen really tonight, just a few blocks from where Bill is, also in Uptown. We have a live picture right now from Marshall Park. The group Million Youth March has called for people to gather at this park at 7 o'clock tonight. We, of course, are going to be there, and we will bring you any developments live from the scene.
And the other big question right now is why the officer fired the fatal shots yesterday. Jenna Caiazzo spoke with CMPD Chief Kurt Putney and Mayor Jennifer Roberts about where the investigation stands right now. Jenna?
Hi, Brian. Well, you're absolutely right. Chief of Police Kurt Putney is combing through the video from the shooting as we speak, while laying out the facts of the case in hopes of getting everyone on the same page.
Chief Kurt Putney telling Fox 46 Charlotte it all started around 4 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. That's when his officers were trying to serve a warrant at the Village Apartments in the University area. That's when he says they saw Keith Scott getting out of a car with a gun.
The officers gave loud, clear, verbal commands, which were also heard by many of the witnesses. They were instructing the subject, once he got out of the vehicle, to drop the weapon.
Chief Putney says Scott was a threat to his officers, and that's when Officer Brentley Vinson shot and killed him. We did get confirmation from Chief Putney that his detectives confiscated a handgun from the scene, despite a conflicting story from Scott's family that he was in his car reading a book.
I can tell you a weapon was seized, a handgun. I can also tell you we did not find a book that has been made reference to.
We will continue to be thorough and transparent in releasing information, accurate information, as soon as it is available.
The shooting then spun the city into a tailspin. Protesters filling the streets, crowds shifting, some peaceful, some not.
They made their way down to Interstate I-85, and they blocked both lanes, northbound and southbound. They broke into the back of a tractor trailer and started setting items on fire.
CMPD, along with city leaders, spent the overnight hours keeping Charlotteans safe. A massive outpouring, putting Charlotte on the map yet again.
People are watching how we respond, how we react. And I'm optimistic that the results of our action will be positive. We'll have positive outcomes. But it's time for the voiceless majority to stand up and be heard. It's time to change the narrative, because I can tell you from the facts that the story is a little bit different as to how it's been portrayed so far, especially through social media.
Many city leaders reacting to what happened, especially those conflicting versions of what people are saying happened from the police and from the family of the victim, including Council Member Lawana Mayfield. Take a listen.
Trying to rely on social media and the sound bites and the tidbits and what people think they saw and what they think they know, that's not helping us. Creating a situation where you create vandalism and you're destroying property, exactly to what end is that benefiting the conversation regarding community relations and police relations and how we are interacting with each other.
Mayfield and other council members are calling for peace tonight if the protests persist and if they become violent. Officers are scattered across the city in preparation of what's expected to come tonight. Of course, we'll keep you posted. For now, in the newsroom, Jenna Caiazzo, back to you.
Jenna, thank you.
All right, we will be right back after this with a whole lot more on the protests throughout the city.
Fox 46 Charlotte closed captioning is brought to you by the North Carolina Education Lottery.
All right, we are taking a live look out in front of CMPD headquarters, where a group of peaceful protesters have broken off from a moving protest throughout the city of Charlotte and are now having one-on-one discourse with police officers.
Yeah, and we are also following many protests and vigils that are planned across the city tonight, and we have live team coverage for you, including one that is going to be happening in Marshall Park that is right around the corner from CMPD in just a little bit, where you see there is a huge gathering around around the fountain there already, where we are expecting more people there tonight around 7 o'clock. We're certainly going to be covering that for you as well. Meantime, one woman who claims to be a witness to the shooting tells a starkly different story from that. The police that Keith Lamont Scott had a gun yesterday when he was confronted by police. Robin Kennedy is live at the Village of the College Downs Apartments where that shooting happened yesterday afternoon with more. Robin?
Ryan, before we get to that story, I want to show you this right behind me. It's a growing makeshift memorial here for Keith Scott. And I'll step out of the way. I'll give you a good look at this. And I can tell you that friends and family have brought by flowers and candles here, and neighbors as well. It has gotten a bit heated in here, mostly because of one man. He seems pretty upset with the media, with the coverage. He says we are not uncovering the truth. I want to tell you, we are working very hard to uncover the truth. And what I can tell you from that neighbor, one thing that she says, the claim that she is making is that she says it was a white officer, not a black officer, that shot and killed Keith Scott. A woman who claims to be an eyewitness to the police shooting and killing of 43-year-old Keith Scott says CMPD is naming the wrong officer responsible for the shooting.
A white officer with a bald head shot that man, standing right there.
Tahisha Williams posted this video on Facebook, and she tells Fox 46 Charlotte it shows Scott on the ground after he was shot by police.
You hear 4 shots. Boom, 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 boom. That man hit the ground.
According to CMPD, Officer Brentley Vinson shot and killed Scott after feeling threatened. CMPD's chief adding that both times Scott got out of the car, he had a handgun. What's not clear at this point is if Scott pointed the gun at officers. Williams says Scott was disabled, that he suffered a brain injury in the past. She says she never saw a gun in Scott's hand before police shot him Tuesday.
The man was sitting in his car, minding his business. I heard his wife yelling down, running down from where they stayed. Don't do it, please don't. I looked over here because I'm looking at where she's running at, and that's when I see the man standing there with the gun, pointing at Mr. What's his name? Mr. Johnson?
Scott.
Mr. Scott, pointing at Mr. Scott. He's standing there like this, telling them I don't have anything.
That's when Williams says she heard gunshots.
Obviously, complying still gets you murdered because that's what happened. That man got murdered for complying with whatever.
A woman who claims to be an eyewitness to the police shooting and killing of 43-year-old Keith Scott says CMPD is naming the wrong officer responsible for the shooting.
A white officer with a bald head shot that man, standing right there.
Tahisha Williams posted this video on Facebook, and she tells Fox 46 Charlotte it shows Scott on the ground after he was shot by police.
You hear 4 shots.
How was your day? Anything?
Yolanda says her own daughter couldn't sleep Tuesday night, and her young son is grieving too.
He tried to go to school. He said, "Mom, I got a math test. I got to pass it," and he couldn't do it. So it's taking a toll on all the kids.
Now, we also spoke with another neighbor. He says that he was inside his apartment. He heard 4 or 5 gunshots. And then he says he came outside. He saw Scott on the ground, and he says that several officers were standing over him. I'm live in Northeast Charlotte tonight. Robin Kennedy, Fox 46 Charlotte.
All right, Robin, thank you so much. Now, we are taking another live look at Marshall Park in Uptown, where a crowd is gathering for a demonstration organized by Million Youth March. You can see already a significant crowd there for the event that is supposed to start at 7 o'clock.
And we'll certainly keep covering the breaking news for you happening right now. The protests all over the city. We'll be right back.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what's happening with your weather out there. We continue to see this line of showers, and it's been mainly showers throughout the day, kind of pushing and staying east of I-77. Now, we've had a few light showers in Charlotte. As far as that's effects on the protest today, it looks like it's going to be very minimal, at least here over the next little bit. We've had a few areas down south that have been hit a little bit harder with some of that rain. Chesterfield County, which has seen most of the rain over the last couple days, continues to get hit the hardest. You see this nice big patch here just to the south of Patrick. Now, as we look further to the north and we look at the way the movement is coming across here, We will get some chances for rain tonight. We'll talk about timing here in just a second, but I do want to show you that we got that big push of Julia still hanging in the region. That's going to be lingering through tonight and in through tomorrow before it eventually breaks down and moves off. So that does mean some rain chances as we look at your futurecast here. This is probably a little too aggressive here, but we will see chances through 8:40 tonight, and then we'll see some opportunities tomorrow morning as well. Listen, we've got more weather coming your way. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter as well. In the meantime, let's get you to the break. We'll be back here with more coverage in just a minute.
We continue our live breaking coverage of the protests throughout Charlotte today following the shooting death of Keith Lamont Scott yesterday by CMPD. Taking a live look here at Hal Marshall Park in Uptown where protesters are gathering.
Yes, the group Million Youth March has organized this demonstration. Now, today, so far, it has been very different from what we saw last night. Very peaceful. Community leaders, civic leaders, all calling for peace. We are going to be following these protests, these demonstrations throughout the night, both on air and online.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The shooting death of Keith Scott and ensuing protests, even reaching into the local professional sports scene. Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton talking about the incident this afternoon.
It's embarrassing, you know, for things to just keep happening. And from what I do know, you know, we had an incident that happened in 2013 that was, you know, police, that had something to do with the police, and it just, you know, went to jury and whatever, got washed away in time. So, you know, my big thing is always holding people accountable. You know, no matter what the race is, no matter what the gender is, no matter what the age is, we all have to hold each other accountable, and that's where we're living in.
And obviously, the shooting death of Keith Scott is now stirring up quite the conversation. We saw it earlier outside of CMPD headquarters between protesters and police.
And more protests and vigils are planned for tonight. We're going to keep covering those for you, including this one right here. We have a live picture from Hal Marshall Park where dozens of protesters have gathered, and they are going to be out there tonight. And also, we're going to cover the prayer vigils that we have for you as well. We'll have all this continuing coverage, not only on air, but also online on all of our digital platforms.
As well as social media. You can find us on Fox 46 Charlotte on Facebook, on Twitter, Fox 46 News. We are going to be bringing you up-to-the-minute updates on all of this as it unfolds.
And we will see you right back here tonight at 10 o'clock.